Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Hello, my dear friends. This is Dr. Hoda. Today is an English lesson for grade 4. Inshallah, we are going to read the story The Railway Children, chapter 8. Let's start. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. بسم الله. What happened to father? Preview questions. What do you think Peter will do at the canal? Who do you think will be angry with the children? Where do you think the bargee will go? One day, the children went down to the canal and looked at the slow-moving water. Peter threw a line into the water. He soon caught a fish. The children were so busy looking at the fish that they didn't hear a horse coming towards them. A voice shouted, "Get out of the way!" They looked around and saw a horse walking along the tow path pulling a barge. The bargee was shouting at them so that the horse could pass on the narrow path. Then he saw the fish at the ends of Peter's line. "You mustn't fish here," he said. "No one can fish here." He jumped off the barge and took hold of Peter's ear. He was a big man with a red face. Roberta took hold of the bargee's arm. So the bargee was aggressive and unfriendly as he took Peter's ear. Took hold of Peter's ear. "Don't hurt my brother," she said. He wasn't doing any harm. So Roberta is caring and brave, and this is the family bond. Family bond lead to feeling secure. The bargee let go of Peter's ear. "You just keep away from here," the bargee said. Then he walked away. A woman came out of the cabin at the end of the barge. "Don't pay attention to him. Don't pay any attention to him," she said. "He's just miserable, but he doesn't mean you any harm. He doesn't want you to play near the canal. You might fall in and drown." So the bargee's wife was kind. The woman walked off the barge and on to the tow path. "My baby's inside and asleep," she said. "I'm going to the inn to have a drink with my husband." She walked away. "Shall we go home?" Roberta said. "I'm going to catch another fish," Peter said. "The canal is public property. Anyone can fish in it." So Peter was brave as he insisted to continue fishing. Bravery lies in the heart. He walked along the canal to another place and Phyllis and Roberta followed him. They sat by the canal for about an hour while Peter tried to catch a fish. Then Roberta looked back to the barge. Smoke was coming out of the cabin at the end of the barge. "It's on fire!" she cried. "There is a baby in there!" Phyllis shouted. The three children ran back to the barge. Peter tied a wet handkerchief around his mouth and nose and ran into the cabin. It was full of thick smoke. So Peter was brave as he rushed to save the baby inside. "There are no flames," he shouted. Only smoke. I can't see very well." He felt his way to where the baby was lying and picked it up. As he did so, a dog ran at him and barked. It tried to bite his leg. Peter ran out of the cabin with the baby in his arms. The dog was barking at him. Peter gave the baby to Phyllis, so Phyllis was responsible as she took the baby and cared for him till his parents came. "I'll run to the inn," Roberta said, "and tell the bargee and his wife that their baby is safe, but that the cabin is on fire." Roberta was responsible. When Roberta went into the inn, she saw the bargee and his wife sitting in a corner. "Your cabin's on fire," she shouted at them, "but your baby is safe. My sister is holding her." Later, when the bargee and his wife were putting out the fire, Peter said, "How did the fire start?" "I left my pipe on the shelf," the bargee said. "I didn't know that it was still lit. Some hot ash fell on the floor and set the carpet on fire. So Bill the bargee was careless. Carelessness leads to disasters. The bargee and his wife were very grateful to the children. Wave to us whenever you see us, the bargee said. His name was Bill. You can come on the barge and have a ride. So the bargee and his wife were grateful and appreciative for the children. When the children got home, they told mother about their adventure. We've made new friends, Peter said. Now we've not only got friends on the railway, but we've got also friends on the canal. I'm happy for you, mother said, but she looked sad as she went to the room where she did her writing. Ruperta went to speak to her. What's wrong, Mommy? She asked. Mother said, you never asked me about your father. Have you forgotten about him? No, Ruperta exclaimed. We often talk about him amongst ourselves. We don't say anything to you because we don't want to upset you. So the children were loyal, as they didn't forget about their father. Loyalty, the theme of loyalty. Even on bad terms, your loyalty shouldn't change. And this is family bond. Family bond leads to feeling secure. You must never forget your father, mother said. He's a good man. One day he will come back to us. But where is he? Why can't he come back to us now? Ruperta demanded. One day I'll explain, mother said, when you are old enough to understand. Ruperta left mother to get on with her writing. About a week later, Ruperta was in the attic looking for a book when she found an old newspaper. She picked it up and looked through it. To her surprise, there was a news item about her father. She read it quickly. Then she read it again and again very slowly. Tears ran down from her eyes. She went into the kitchen where mother was cooking. I must talk to you, she said. Phyllis and Peter were in the kitchen. They saw the tears in her eyes. She's done something wrong, Peter whispered to Phyllis. She's probably broken something, Phyllis whispered back. Mother saw that Ruperta was very upset. Let's go to my writing room, she said. When Ruperta and mother were in the writing room, Ruperta gave her the newspaper. I found this in the attic. I don't understand. Mother didn't need to read the news item. She knew what it said. Sit down, darling, she said. I'll tell you all about it. Ruperta sat on the floor near her mother. Your father worked for the government. He had a senior position. One day, the minister in charge of his department received a phone call. A man said that father was a spy, and that there were letters in his desk from a foreign government. The man said that father was selling government secrets to the foreign government. The minister told the police. The police looked in father's desk. They found the letters. So this is the theme of injustice. Injustice leads to social suffering. Ruperta was horrified. I can't believe Daddy was a spy. He wasn't, but he couldn't prove that he wasn't. The letters had his name on them. How did they get there? Ruperta asked. Daddy and I think that another man in the department put them there. He had a lower position than Daddy and wanted his job. This was his way of getting it. But that's terrible, Ruperta said. I know, darling, and one day we shall prove Daddy's innocence. Until then, he must stay in prison for many years. That's why you are writing all the time? Yes, darling, I have to earn money for our food and so on. So mother was responsible. Responsibility appears in hard times. The only thing I know how to do is to tell stories. Now, promise me that you won't tell Peter and Phyllis. I will tell them when the time is right. Ruperta kept her promise, but she wrote to the old gentleman. She asked him for his help. She put the piece of newspaper with the news item into the envelope with her letter. Then she took it to the station and asked the station master to give it to the old gentleman. So Ruperta was responsible as she kept the secret, and she wrote a letter to the old gentleman to help them to prove father's innocence. Responsibility appears in hard times. Review questions. What did Ruperta find? What did Ruperta find out about her father? Why did Ruperta write to the old gentleman? So a quick recap. The Railway Children Chapter 8, What Happened to Father? The setting was the canal and the cottage. New characters, the bargee Bill and his wife. The main events at the canal. Peter was fishing and he caught a big fish. The bargee shouted at him as he wanted to pass. When the bargee saw that Peter caught a fish, he said, "You mustn't fish here. No one can fish here." And he took hold of Peter's ear. So the bargee Bill is unfriendly and aggressive. Ruperta took hold of the bargee's arm and said, "Don't hurt my brother. He wasn't doing any harm." Ruperta is caring and brave. And this theme of family bond leads to feeling secure. The bargee's wife said, "Don't pay any attention to him. He's just miserable. But he doesn't mean you any harm. He doesn't want you to play near the canal. You might fall in and drown." So the bargee's wife was kind. Peter said, "I'm going to catch another fish. The canal is public property. Anyone can fish in it." So Peter was brave. Bravery lies in the heart. When the barge was on fire, Peter ran into the cabin and saved the baby, although it was full of smoke and he couldn't see well. So Peter was brave. Bravery lies in the heart, and bravery can mend disasters. Phyllis held the baby and took care of her till her parents came. So Phyllis was responsible. Responsibility appears in hard times. Ruperta ran to the inn and told the bargee and his wife that the cabin was on fire and that the baby was safe with her sister. So Ruperta was responsible. Responsibility appears in hard times. After putting out the fire, Peter asked, "How did the fire start?" The bargee left his pipe lit on the shelf. Some hot ashes fell on the carpet and the cabin was on fire. So the bargee Bill was careless. Carelessness leads to disasters. The bargee and his wife thanked the children for saving the baby. The bargee invited the children to come and have a ride on the barge. So the bargee and his wife were grateful. In the cottage, Mother said, "You never asked me about your father. Have you forgotten about him?" The children didn't forget about their father. The children didn't forget about their father. They often talked about him among themselves. So the children were loyal. Loyalty theme. Even on bad terms, your loyalty shouldn't change. One day, Ruperta was looking for a book in the attic. She found an old newspaper. She went to Mother to talk to her. She asked about the news item in the newspaper. What happened to Father? Father was accused of being a spy. Father worked in the government in a higher position. The minister in charge of his department received a phone call. A man said Father was a spy. There were letters in his desk from foreign government. He was selling government secrets. The police found the letters in Father's desk and Father was put in prison. So this is the theme of injustice. Injustice leads to social suffering. Mother was responsible. She was writing stories all the time to earn money for food. So responsibility appears in hard times. Ruperta was responsible too, as Ruperta kept her promise not to tell Phyllis and Peter about Father being a spy. But she wrote to the old gentleman to ask for help to set her father free and prove his innocence. Now it's time for questions. Answer the following questions. Despite Peter's young age, he proved to be very brave. Explain referring to Peter's trait. Characters give life to stories. The Railway Children was written by Edith Nesbit. It's realistic fiction. Despite Peter's young age, he proved to be very brave. This was clear when he insisted on fishing in the canal, although the bargee had shouted at him. Also, Peter saved the baby when the barge was on fire. The events show that bravery lies in the heart. In my opinion, Peter will be rewarded for his bravery. Yes, darling, I have to earn money for our food. Comment. The Railway Children was written by Edith Nesbit. Mother said these words to Ruperta in the cottage. It happened when Ruperta knew from mother that father was in prison, as he was accused of being a spy. So mother told Ruperta that she was writing stories to earn money as father was going to stay in prison for years. This shows that mother is responsible. The events show that responsibility appears in hard times. In my opinion, the children will be responsible and they will help their mother. Complete. Ruperta found a news item about her father telling that he was a spy. The children's father was accused of being a spy. The bargee and his wife went into the and they left their alone. The bargee and his wife went into the inn and they left their baby alone. And now we've come to the end of our session today. I hope you liked our story. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share the videos with your friends. Thank you, dear. Bye.